Pellaeon turned up in Tales of the Empire, and this has upset some people. The claim is essentially that Pellaeon being associated with Thrawn this early contradicts what's set up in Thrawn Treason. But really, I don't think it does. In Treason, we basically find out the reason Pellaeon ends up at Lothal with Thrawn is because he was just removed from being under the command of Grand Admiral Savitt, who Pellaeon and Thrawn cooperate to take down in his own coup. But nowhere in the book does it say that Pellaeon and Thrawn are meeting for the first time. It explains how Pellaeon would go from being under Savitt's command to Thrawn's command, but that happens literally as they are on their way to Lothal. Thrawn's about 5 minutes from being eaten by a whale here. Pellaeon and Thrawn actually don't even directly interact much in the book. Chimera sends data on Savitt's treason to Pellaeon's ship, and Pellaeon acts against Savitt after that. But the only time Thrawn actually speaks Pellaeon's name in the book is to say that Pellaeon is completely loyal to the Empire, not to Savitt. That Thrawn trilogy is full of Thrawn looking for people he can work with, so I don't think it's really out of the question that Pellaeon had become one of those people earlier, and that Pellaeon had essentially started working unofficially on behalf of Thrawn in accomplishing these goals, in the same capacity that someone like Voss Park might have in Legends. This is something that in the books is typically more directly Eli Vanto's job, but Pellaeon could have been one of the people that Vanto found. Really, Zahn does the exact same thing in Legends, where it seems like the Thrawn trilogy is the first time that Pellaeon is working under Thrawn, something that I'd say is a lot more directly supported in the text, but then Zahn went back in time with some of his other books and established that Pellaeon had been working with Thrawn much earlier. In the Legends version, shortly after the Battle of Yavin, Captain Pellaeon ends up helping Thrawn deal with Nuso Esfa, one of the earliest warlords that Thrawn came into contact with when spreading the Empire into the unknown regions and then set up the Empire of the Hand. You can certainly find ways to read this as a contradiction of the time that Pellaeon takes to get used to Thrawn in the Thrawn trilogy and why Thrawn seems so weird to him, but you could also just take that as a sign that Pellaeon hadn't worked so directly under Thrawn before. It's also probably a sign that Pellaeon hadn't subscribed here for more Star Wars videos about Thrawn and left a like on this video. And you could just take it as an explanation for why Thrawn decides that going with Pellaeon on the Chimera was the right choice for him. Before that, Pellaeon and the Chimera were really just the officer and ship that Thrawn happened to attach his flag to when he returned. Thrawn had probably gone over some service records, but there wasn't any pre-existing personal relationship between the two. And I really think that's basically the same situation that we have now. You can take Tales of the Empire as a contradiction of Treason's implication that maybe this is the first time that Pellaeon and Thrawn are working together, even though it doesn't go into detail on that. Or you could take it as a deeper explanation for why Thrawn, who again had not mentioned or met Pellaeon in the book up to this point, knew Pellaeon would make the right choice, and for why Pellaeon was so receptive to the data that Thrawn was sending him from Chimera. And I think this is especially helpful if you want to establish any kind of relationship between Pellaeon and Thrawn when Thrawn is gone. If the first real interaction they're having is only a few hours before Thrawn is on his way to Lothal, then Pellaeon being either a point of contact or a voice for Thrawn in the decade that Thrawn is gone doesn't really make as much sense. Continuity in Star Wars has always been a situation where different creators have different specific interpretations of what's going on at different times. So honestly, I feel like to the extent that this even is a reinterpretation of that relationship, it's a mostly positive one. And while there have definitely been situations where Timothy Zahn gets upset about what happens to his characters and other creators' stories, I really don't think this is a situation where he'd disagree with what's being done with Pellaeon and Thrawn's relationship. After all, even just in this video, we've already talked about a situation where he kind of went back and reinterpreted that relationship as being closer earlier. That's just my opinion though. I am planning to do a bigger video on Pellaeon, going over his whole history both in and out of universe, especially in Legends, but also in canon. So make sure to subscribe if you want to see that. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you next time.